Okay, and then you cream that until it looks pretty close to this. It's kind of clumpy, kind of sticks together. A couple loose parts, but it's pretty creamy, like everything's blended together. And then you take the other two wet ingredients and you go in with this, and it is the 2 eggs and the vanilla. So you just crack it in egg at a time, or both of them, and then just mix them in. You just have to start slower that way. But you whisk the eggs in with the brown sugar, the white sugar, and the butter. Usually I stick 1 egg in, run the mixer, and then stick the other egg in while it's mixing. And you get all that in there, and then you kind of have to let this cream as well. And you gotta turn it up a little bit. Okay, and then you kind of let that cream kind of blow for a second while you add your vanilla. I like just a little bit extra vanilla just because I think it's delicious. And I'm also pretty sure this stuff's watered down, so. Either way, really delicious. You just let it mix in there with your eggs, your 2 types of sugar, and your butter. You gotta let that cream in, gotta let it get in, sit, you know. Okay, then you turn that off. You can just kind of leave it on the beater like that. And then we now have every wet ingredient and dry ingredient ready to go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my dry ingredients. I'm gonna take the half measuring cup, and I'm just gonna spoon it in a little bit at a time and let it slowly mix in. That's perfect. That's gonna be delicious. It's kind of like brown sugar frosting. That's kind of what it tastes like, but it has eggs in it, so I wouldn't suggest eating it. Just turn on your mixer, like maybe on 2 speed-ish. You just take a little less than half a cup. You just kind of tap it in there a little bit at a time. When it looks like our oven's ready, I just heard it do the click thing it does when it's all heated and ready to go. You just tap all the flour in there, just about a half cup at a time until it's all in there. And trust me, it'll all get in there. It fits, I promise it does. Okay, so as you start to add more and more in, sometimes the flour collects up around the sides. You have to scrape it down. So I've made these so many times that I can usually scrape it down while it's still going. I'm talented like that. But I would suggest, if you don't bake a lot, I would suggest turning it off so you don't accidentally whisk your finger off. But you just have to really gently scrape down the sides. If you're doing it while it's on, just keep as far away from the whisk as possible. Okay, so I've mixed all of the flour in. This is kind of what the dough looks like right now. It's really chunky, it sticks together, but it kind of looks like this. It's got its little oatmeal chunks in it, and tastes pretty good even at this stage, and it doesn't even have the chocolate in it yet. But our next step is to chop this bar of chocolate real quick. You can chop it, you can grate it. Since I use milk chocolate, I usually just end up chopping it because grating milk chocolate does not work. It does for dark chocolate, but it does not for milk chocolate. And instead of chocolate chips for this recipe, I like to put in M&Ms sometimes, and today's one of those days. So we're getting crispy M&Ms. So I'm just going to dump them all in there because that's pretty much what you need. It calls for a 12-ounce bag. This is only 8, but they're a little bit bigger than chocolate chips, so it usually ends up turning out okay. I just shake a couple in there, then I just scrape the dough out, then I scrape the cookie dough out of the whisk, and just kind of let it fall on top, and then I just usually wash my hands really well and then knead it in, or fold it in with a spatula, just kind of, I'll show you that in a second. But it's just a little bit easier to kind of mix it in from the get-go than trying to smush a whole bunch of M&Ms into a really big vat of cookie dough in 10 minutes. So, just kind of got to smush everything in there. Okay, next we're gonna chop up this chocolate bar real quick. Just rip it open. You need the whole thing because it calls for 4 ounces of chopped up chocolate, and it says you can use milk or dark. My dad usually uses dark. That's the kind of person he is. I'm kind of more of a milk person. But this is 4.4 ounces. So I was like, whatever, just chop up the whole thing, call it good. Or eat a corner off. You know. Basically just chop it so the whole thing looks like that. So you get chocolatey chunks in the bottom. Okay. By the end, this is about what it should look like. There should have just a little, there should be bigger chunks. There's little flakes all across. But basically it's just a little extra touch of chocolate to just throw into your cookies to make them extra yummy. That's really all it ends up being in the end. Okay. Got everything incorporated as best I could. Next, test the cookie dough. Perfect. That's exactly how it's supposed to taste. Woo! Okay. Then you take about 1-inch balls, give or take. Stick a couple M&Ms in there. This one is Easter themed. Looks like a carrot. Just kidding. And then you just kind of do, I usually do 3x4 on a sheet. And then it usually ends up making 12 a sheet. Sometimes I make bigger cookies and I only do 2. It just depends on who I'm making them for. Since I am making them for class tomorrow, as part of my project, I am choosing to make them a little bit smaller. So hopefully everybody can have one and maybe more. Can share them with people. That was a big honker. Congratulations to whoever gets that cookie. He is a big boy. Okay, so the next step is to take your beautiful tray of cookies and stick them in the oven. And you are supposed to bake these bad boys for, I think it's 15 minutes. Yeah, it's 12 to 15 minutes. Usually what I usually do 13. That's usually about right, but since it's a little cold outside, I'm going to do 13 plus a little probably. Set the timer for 13 minutes. Then you clean up. Alright, so these are the finished product. They've got their M&Ms. They've got their little chocolate flakes. These are all just a teeny weeny bit overcooked. You can see they're a little bit too brown. But they'll still be really good either way. They stay a little bit longer when they're a little extra crispy. I like them that way. But this is kind of what they look like at the end. I have to cook the second tray of cookies real quick, and then I am done.